And I pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's approve the agenda. Mr. Osborne, your recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the agenda.
We have a motion, board.
I'll make that motion.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. We're here for our budget hearing. Mr. Austin, your recommendation.
We don't have she's gonna be,
okay.
presenting, right? I will. We have our chief financial officer, Stacy Graves here. This is her last, budget proposal for the board, actually. Very sad.
So, it's a good one. So I'm going out on a great note. So that's like, before I even start that, I just would love to say that. So County Schools has more money than we have ever had. So that means we can do more things and, we can just move the district forward. So in this budget, I want to thank so many people. I know that I presented and I compile the majority of it, but most of this budget is not mine. I have one line item for the business office, which is all that I have in the entire budget. So I want to thank everyone from the ground up. It is building blocks. It starts with Mr. Esselstyn's vision. Everybody knows what Mr. Esselstyn's vision is. They know that my mantra, which is required, is reasonable and necessary. So we get what we need, but we get what we need to move the district forward in a great way. So I want to thank all departments, all principals, all directors, all assistant superintendents, and most importantly, also thank my staff. I could not do this without my staff, and especially Tishwa, Amory Perkins, and Stacey Hadley had a huge part in putting this, all together. And thank you to Austin for spending several hours with me trying to get the music going today. You're going to have a treat. So here we go. This is the budget for 24-25 school year. Hard to believe. Today is our budget hearing. And then hopefully, all goes well, we'll adopt the budget on June 24th at 10 a.m. at the recess board meeting. And I thought this was the best quote ever of all the years that I have added, put quotes here. Used correctly, a budget doesn't restrict you, it empowers you. And I can tell you that this budget definitely will empower the students of DeSoto County and teachers. School millage, this is like a broken record. We are not raising the millage. DeSoto County Schools is not requesting a millage increase for 24-25. We will still stay at the operating millage of 49.85 and a 3 mil note of 3.00. And so total, we are still at the 52.85 millage. So let's talk about total budget revenue. This year, we're at $426,362,191. Not the largest, well, I guess that is the largest at this point. So expenditures is going to be a little bit less this last year. A little bit over FY24. Let's break down those revenues. Our local revenues, $145,576,372. That's at 34.1%. Our state is at $234,337,960. We're at 55%, up a little bit, 53%, and we'll talk about the new funding formula in just a little bit. The federal revenue, we're at $46,447,859. We are down almost 4%, but we all need to remember ESSER is thankfully going away. So we are down to just about $5 million left in ESSER. So that's going to be your major difference. That's pretty much the shift in most of everything is going to be the new funding formula and the reduction in the federal dollars. So just in graphical form, we have local, state, and federal sources. Our local revenues, we're going to break those down a little bit more. The ad valorem that we just discussed, operation is projected at this point. This is actually the same figure that they set the millage at, so it will increase. DeSoto County typically does that, so it will be higher once we get the true figure around August. So the operations at this point is $113,808,004, and our 3 mil note should generate $6,961,647. So Avalon makes up about 83% of all of our local revenues. Our other local revenues are donations and contributions. We receive quite a bit of the revenue in lieu of taxes, which only means for DeSoto County. So that means that they are bringing businesses that are large enough to be, to have an investment that is going to be off the tax rolls until their 10-year exemption. Interest income, student activities and fees, and our breakfast and lunch, those are the non-federally reimbursed portion. Our state revenues, we got a lot to talk about state this year. I have harped on MAEP since its inception in 2003. That was only funded twice. And, I was keeping the running total every year of how much, we were not funded. I can't do that anymore. And Stacy and I will not be able to do that anymore because we have a new funding formula called MSFF. That's the Mississippi Student Funding Formula. And we're going to talk about the differences in the old formula and the new formula in just a minute. But we should receive $219,628,213, which, because of that increase, that's 94% of all state funds this year is going to be MSFF. We will receive $15,879,771 more under the new formula than the old formula. That is great for DeSoto County Schools. There's one little negative side, but because of our district, we already have a millage rate that's high enough to generate what we need to. It really, they say it does, but it doesn't affect us as much as it could. But we're very excited about the new funding formula. I would not expect a large increase year after year with the new funding formula because of the way they have created it, but we're glad that a lot of districts lost money. And a lot of districts are going to be on the hold harmless list, but DeSoto County Schools was very fortunate. Our other major state sources, our homestead, it's about $2.1 million. Our Chickasaw funds, it's about $4.5 million. Our educational enhancement funds, which we have pledged toward our debt of certificate of participation, that's a little over $1 million. They always give us the new allocation around October, so it should go up slightly. Master teacher, about $1.7 million, and that depends on how many teachers obtain the master teacher certificate. So let's talk about the differences in the new formula. Under the old MAP formula, average daily attendance is what they based our, that's what they based our allocation on. Huge change, especially for DeSoto County Schools. We have begged for this for years. Average daily enrollment. Why does that make a difference? We have to hire teachers based on who could be in the classroom, not based on who actually is in the classroom. So that was one big jump for DeSoto County Schools, was the fact that it was average daily enrollment rather than average daily attendance, and that's extremely important. Both of them have a base student cost plus add-ons. The base student cost for MAP, that was based on a level 3 accreditation. We have not received, or normally they send us a full funding sheet that tells us exactly how we received our allocation. We don't have that yet. What we do know is that the add-ons now are based on student at-risk populations. They're weighted for low income, concentrated poverty, SPED tiered. In the past, SPED and career tech were all based on your staff. It was like X number of teachers, and it was a weird formula they used that nobody could ever figure out how they used it. So now it's based on the type of students that you have. So if you have tier 1, 2, and 3 students, they weigh you higher for the different tiers, which is fabulous for DeSoto County Schools because we put a lot of investment in special education. We really, really do. And so those different tiers, we're actually going to receive funding based on the severity of the SPED levels. Self-contained classes were never included in the old formula. They are now included in the new formula. ELL, gifted, and career technical education, those are all in this new weighted average. We don't know exactly, we do know some percentages, but we don't have DeSoto County Schools breakdown. I'll be very interested in seeing that when we finally get it. It does require, this was the only drawback, so districts are required to give a certain portion or match a certain portion with their local funding. The formula did require DeSoto County Schools to put in an additional $3.6 million in local funding. But really for us, we're already so far ahead of what is required that it's going to be the same for us anyway. So I'll take the 15 million anything versus the 3.6. And the only other difference in the two, which could have a an effect, but we'll see what happens. The base student cost was recalculated like every 3 years. Well, this one is not going to be recalculated until 29. There are some factors in between for years that they don't recalculate, but it is a smaller factor than it was under the old MAP. But I think the goal of the legislature was to try and not have a formula that they couldn't fund. I think they're trying to fund the formula that they have now created. So we'll see. Any questions on MAP versus NSFF? It's going to be hard to say. Much easier to say MAP. So let's talk about our federal revenues. Nothing has really changed on those except for the fact that we have a much smaller amount of ESSER left. So all the other federal funds, they did get us to budget this year at a lower rate than typical. Typically they do, but we do hopefully project that we'll receive more than we have budgeted. So we do not have our allocations yet for our Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV. So when we talk about budgets and someone asks, what is the budget of DeSoto County Schools? It's actually based on expenditures and not revenues. Because your revenues can be a combination of what you received this year, but you also have money left over from the years before, fund balance, that you use toward these expenditures. So, and that's always a given. It's always going to happen every year. So budget for DeSoto County Schools this year is $480,344,143. And I will tell you, we're going down about $30 million. That is pretty much Hernando High School, because the majority of the expenditures for building Hernando High School were in last year. So luckily, we do not have that $30 million again this year. So that's the main difference in the two. So we're going to break it down by our general funds, which are district funds, special education, all the student activity funds. Then you have your special revenue funds, which are going to be all your titles and anything that has to do with your anything federal, your child nutrition, all of those. Capital projects is just that. All the construction that we're doing, and debt service is what we're paying from what we borrowed. So our general expenditures this year are at $361,883,532. It's $27,994 over last year, but we're going to talk in just a second about why we have the big changes this year. Special revenue funds are down by about $11 million at $63,556,364. Capital projects are down almost $47 million. This year we project to be $37,567,17. And debt service is only up slightly, a little bit less than $500,000 at $17,343,450. So why the big difference in the two? For our general funds, we had, and I think I've preached this just about every month, all these, when ESSER goes away, the things that we put into ESSER were moved back into districts. So we fully expected those expenditures to jump. Our nurses, interventionists, mental health therapists, curriculum specialists, we were very good at, we moved everybody that we could move, and we added a few, but those all now come back to district. Plus, we have a lot of one-time purchases this year. Plant maintenance is being very aggressive at getting some projects done schools have requested and needed. So whether we get them all done, it's there if they can. If not, it's okay. We can move to the next year. But some one-time purchases for this next year, we have $21 million in physical plant school level special projects. Now that does include outfitting the new schools, the new Hernando High, and all the changes in the other schools. Because we have to order it in this next year's budget in order to have it in this next year's budget in order to have it in time. We're also requesting $4 million in buses. It's time to beef our bus, kind of replace some of our older buses. And we're doing another $10 million transfer to miscellaneous construction for the new projects that we're doing, the additions at Hernando Hills and the other things that the board has approved. So those are the major things that, and one-time projects are, they don't affect your ongoing budget. So it shows in 1 year, but it's not something ongoing to the next that will continue to create a deficit fund balance. Other changes in expenditures for the special revenue funds, the majority of that is the ESSER funds we expended last year, and then we have very few left for this year to expend. And then our federal funds budget, as I discussed, MDE has told us to reduce our estimated this year. Hopefully it'll be larger, but we did go ahead and reduce it like they asked us to. And then capital projects funds, like I said earlier, the new Hernando High School, the majority of those expenditures were in this FY24 year. We're not done, but they have gone gangbusters this last year. If anybody has gone to see it, you can tell that they have completed quite a bit. So let's talk about DeSoto County Schools. The board employs actually over 4,500 employees. We are the largest employer in DeSoto County. We educate this year over 34,490 students. We actually plant maintenance maintains 5.2 million square feet of facilities valued at almost $1 billion. We transport over 21,000 students daily. We over 1,400 routes, and they cover a lot of miles, about 2.3 million miles a year. And every day between breakfast and lunch, we serve over 27,000 kids, 27,000 meals. That's quite a bit. It's a big operation. DeSoto Schools is a big operation. So what drives our budget? So the building blocks that I talked about, we have to start with accreditation standards. How many teachers do we hire? Do we need teacher aides? What do we need? Do we need librarians? What do we need? Legislative mandates, that's absolutely every year. ESSER regulations, and that deals with all of our title funds. ESSER, we're still under ESSER for this last year. Special education and IEP plans for students. Facility and safety needs, that's always a big budget driver. Transportation needs. And then our teacher-pupil ratio requires support staff. Our state salary schedule, we'll talk about what Mr. Justin and the board are going to be doing this year. Classroom needs and our school level requests. So everyone has an input from the bottom, all of it. Our expenditure categories, our support services. Support services is going to include, it's not just the classroom. Support services includes guidance counselors, speech paths, nurses, things that actually directly impact the student. That's at $85,927,404. Instruction is going to be $234,462,447. That is directly in the classrooms. And we'll see that is going to be the biggest number by far. Our operations and maintenance, including the $21 million in special projects, is $59,805,903. Operations non-instructional is going to be your child nutrition. So we're at 21.8 is the child nutrition budget. Construction this year is going to be $36,498,435. Transportation, $24,471,354, and our debt service, $17,343,530. So graphically, you can see support services which are directly related to instruction. That's column number 1. Column number 2 is instruction. You put those two together, and those are the two columns that impact directly the students in the classroom. You could add all those 5 together and not even come close to what the budget spends on support services and instruction. So the main thing is definitely the main thing. And this is another graph that breaks it down by type. So yellow, it's kind of hard for y'all to see. Students are at 40%, and that's of the small. It's a smaller subsection. You can see at the county office, business is only 7%. A central office itself is only, that's personnel, things like that's only 7%. And then school administration is the 20%. General administration, and that is superintendent's office, board, and some others, that's only 11%, and then instructional staff 15%. So definitely the main thing is the main thing. So what investments have we made different this year over and above what we have already done? $1,100 district teacher pay raise. PERS increased by 0.5%. We expect something to happen next year and the next year as well, but this year was only 0.5%. We were racing for 2%. A nice increase for the athletic student activity supplement and for the athletic student activity for the supplement for the coaches and for the band directors and drama teachers and all that, and then also an increase in the school budget, the budgets actually at the school level. To help offset with some of the fundraising. Some schools can fundraise more than others. Some cannot fundraise as much as others. We have not raised that in quite a while. And so yeah, I think this time inflation is another, it's getting more expensive, for them as well. So we have increased the budgets for athletics and student activities. Then there's a new CKLA curriculum that luckily most of that is being funded with federal money. So we're excited about that. And then additional teachers and TAs over all programs. That's going to be gifted. That's going to be dyslexia. That's going to be classroom teachers. That's going to be SPED all over the district. We are putting teachers and TAs where they need to be. So if you take all those additional district, just the educational investments, it's almost $12.5 million in addition this year over last year, directly into the classroom. So what other things are we doing? The SRO budget, we put it to $4.23 million. We're adding 7 additional school resource officers. Safety can never be anything but the highest priority. Additional guidance counselors, additional speech pathologists. And we're helping with the 504 plan implementation. We're adding some aides for that, and then a bilingual liaison. Our district grows every year with ELL. There's just no way around it. So what have we gotten out of this? So this last year, just some facts for DeSoto County Schools for this last 24 school year. We had 24 national merit semifinalists. We had 111 seniors that scored 30 plus on ACT. Y'all have seen almost every one of these here. In scholarship offers, I think it's the highest we've ever had, $77,600,000. We have 34 seniors that earned the gold, silver, bioliteracy seal. Dual credit courses, we added this one this year because the magnitude of the dual credit courses, and these give kids head start when they're going off to college. So 4,746 dual credit courses were taken this year, only over 8 high schools, and those are only juniors and seniors. That is a lot of dual credit courses. I had no idea. We paid the bills, but had no idea that it was that many. On career and technical national certifications for advanced manufacturing, welding, construction, culinary, early childhood education, information technology, and automotive, and we're very proud about that. So y'all all know that fund balance is near and dear to my heart because that really does show the health of your budget. And so the board is required by GASB 54, Governmental Accounting Standard 54, to have a board policy as to what percentage you would like to set as a level where we can never go below on the budget of the percent of the revenues in the general fund, which is the district fund. And the board has generously set 25%, which is very healthy because we have been through some years that it wasn't so great when the state decided to cut our current funding. You know, we've been given our funding and they even cut the funding. So extremely conservative is 25%, and we're very fortunate enough to be able to maintain that. Now, we're maintaining that at a higher rate than we normally do, and it should, we're not in business to make money either, so we should be taking that down slowly as the years go on. But thanks to ESSER and very conservative budgeting, our budgeted fund balance for this year is going to be $141,108,410. 25% of the revenues, what we would be required to have as a fund balance is $88,549,968. So we are in excess by having 141 instead of 88 million. We are in excess of what is required by 52,558,442. So instead of a 25% fund balance reserve, we are at a 40% fund balance reserve. You don't want to go down so quickly. I mean, we've got things to do, and there are plans for future years. So that is excellent. That is an extremely healthy fund balance. So we're very, very proud of that. Mission accomplished. 71% of all operating expenditures are directly related to instruction. 79%, and I almost could have rounded that to 80, of all general fund salaries and benefits are expended in the classroom. That's directly in the classroom. So people want to say how much we spend on salaries. Where are they going? The majority of it is in the classroom. Very proud of that. So now, I hope I don't have it too long, but now the fun part. Oh, are you kidding? Hold on. All right, I'm frozen. Austin, well, let's try it again. It's so good. Let's see.
We're not going.
You're here, right?
There we go.
I hope the days come easy and the moments pass slow, and each road leads you where you wanna go. And if you're faced with a choice, choice and you have to choose. I hope you choose the one that means the most to you. And if one door opens to another door closed, I hope you keep on walking till you find a window. If it's cold outside, show the world the warmth of your smile. But more than anything, more than anything, I wish for you. Step this life because all that you do until your dreams stay big. You only stay small. You never need to carry more than you can hold. And while you're out there getting where you get to, I hope you know somebody loves you and wants the same things too. Yeah, this is my wish. I hope you never look back, but you never forget all the ones who love you in the place you left. I hope you always forget and you never regret. And you help somebody every chance you get. Oh, you find God's grace in every mistake and always keep on waiting. But more than anything, yeah, more than anything, my wish for you. That this life becomes all that you want into your dreams. Stay big, you stay small. You never need to carry more than you can hold. And while you're out there, getting where you get to, I hope you know somebody loves you and wants the same things to. Yeah, this is my way. I wish you that this life becomes all that you want to be. Dreams stay big, you always stay small. You never need to get more than you can. And when you're not thinking where you get to, I hope you know somebody you to say things to. Yeah, this is my this is my
Very good.
Great job.
Ready for the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to take this time to start out by thanking Ms. Graves and her team. Excellent job. Let's give all of them a big round of applause. It's definitely a team effort, as Ms. Graves said, between our business department and our directors and our schools to get the proper budget. And so just want to thank you for all of your hard work on this. And I know we'll see you again at the next board meeting, but I just want to go ahead and say you make this process very easy. We're all on the same page as far as putting our students first. And I just appreciate working with you on this because I know that this is student-centered and it's really going to benefit them. You've done a great job on this throughout the years. Some things about the budget, and Mr. Graves pointed these out, but going back to the teacher pay raise, I want to thank our board for supporting that. That's on top of what the legislature gives and on top of step-up raises. So that's $1,100 per teacher. So that is a $6,700 supplement for a newer teacher. And the teachers that have over 20 years get $7,000 added. So they get $7,000 on top of what their salary is set by the legislature. And that is, with salary and benefits, it's over $20 million just to supplement. And so that comes off the top from the very beginning. And then as Ms. Graves talked about the school resource officers, we're working with the sheriff's department, local agencies there, and we'll be going from 51 officers to 58 for next year. We'll be paying $70,000 per officer, and that'll be over $4.2 million for next school year. And so safety's first. We want to make sure we're doing all that we can for our students and our employees. And so once again, this is something that benefits our students, benefits our employees, and I'm proud of the presentation Ms. Graves just made. That concludes my superintendent.
This time we'll, entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Aye. We'll keep going.
All right.
Sorry.
Thank y'all.